There was a time when difficult people could hijack my entire nervous system. One comment, one tone shift, one passive aggressive eye roll or sigh. Suddenly I was 12 years old again, bracing for that emotional impact, defending myself. Not anymore. These days, difficult people don't trigger me. They haven't for years, and not because they changed, because I did. As you've been following along, you know I'm Teresa Quinlan. I'm an EQ executive coach. I build emotionally intelligent leaders. So in this particular video, let's get something really straight. Most difficult people aren't actually difficult. They're dysregulated. They're avoidant, defensive. They're operating from unhealed, unexamined patterns that have nothing to do with you. For years, I made their behavior mean something about me, my worth, my safety, my responsibility. That's why we get triggered. That's why you get triggered. And emotional intelligence taught me something really interesting because it was liberating. Other people's behaviors, that's information. It's not a personal attack. Their stuff is theirs. It's about them. It's not mine or about me. And once you understand that, the whole game really shifts. The reason I would become triggered was really simple. If they were on the attack, I had my fists raised and I was ready to confront them. If they were disappointed, I was defending myself. If they were unkind or bullying, I retreated into myself. And that wasn't emotional intelligence at all. It was emotional dysregulation. It was emotional codependence. And the day I stopped doing that was the day that I decided my nervous system, my emotional state, my well-being, that belonged to me. And that was the same day that other people, difficult people, lost their power. The first person I took charge of was myself. And then the first person I applied that to was my mother. I didn't become untriggerable by accident. I had to actually train for it. And for you to not be triggered by difficult people, you also have to train for it. What I learned was that you have to notice what you're reacting to by paying attention to the spikes in your body and your brain. You have to notice the physical signals of ignition, the inner narrative that makes up the stories. Once I became really keen to what was my predictably irrational triggers, I learned to breathe instead of brace, to use my breath to slow the pace and to create space. See, what that does is it gives you the room to respond instead of react. And I'm wondering if as you hear that, you're also thinking, I know when I'm predictably irrational. I know the people that trigger me. I know when I'm bracing or defending or putting my fists up or even avoiding. I know when I can use exactly what she's talking about. Because I spent time deciding how I wanted to respond, then I was ready to execute. See, what we can't do is you can't wait for the moments to arrive and then try to figure out how to respond to the other person. I couldn't wait for the moments to arrive when my mother was showing up the way that she was showing up to figure out how do I respond to my mother right now. So after paying attention and tracking what I was doing, I started to write down how I wanted to respond in those moments, the words I wanted to say, the emotions I wanted to inhabit. I stopped catching what she was throwing at me, and instead I started managing myself in the ways that I had already decided I wanted to. One specific moment happened over Christmas when my son was about 4 years old. My husband and I had already set a boundary in place with my mother around gifts, only one gift. My mother arrived with 7. So I pulled my mother aside, fully regulated, fully composed, and I said, Mom, you agreed to one gift. I see you have 7. You're going to need to choose one. The magic is this. When your nervous system is regulated, other people's dysregulation becomes obvious and irrelevant. I even developed a higher level of sympathy and empathy for my mother's reaction at that moment, which was important because that allowed me to operate with a soft front and a really strong back. So when it came to this particular moment, yes, she went off the rails as expected. But what she said and did, it was irrelevant. Her emotions weren't mine to solve. Her words weren't mine to own. Her beliefs weren't mine to fix. Her reactions weren't mine to soothe. What I didn't do was shrink. This is the strong back part. I didn't shrink to make her difficulty less difficult. I didn't shrink to make her feel more comfortable. I didn't negotiate my boundaries to avoid her disappointment. I didn't raise my fists to give them the satisfaction of the dopamine hit, because that's what my mother was looking for. She was looking for the reaction that gave her a dopamine hit, so I didn't give it. Here's the mental belief pattern that creates the fortitude you need in order to repeat this no matter who's in front of you. So when you think about the people that trigger you the most, this is the formula. This is the mental belief pattern. Their behavior is theirs. My response is mine. This separation is freedom. When you stand in what's called emotional sovereignty, meaning your emotions are not dependent on theirs, and their emotions won't move you from your state of well-being, difficult people stop becoming difficult, and they just become people. And if you're wondering how to stop getting triggered, here's where you start. First, reclaim your nervous system. So you have to cognitively commit to no longer reacting to difficult people. Be specific and name the first 1 or 2 people you want to start with. Commit. Who are the people you're going to reclaim your nervous system around? Meaning you're no longer going to react, catch the ball that they're serving. No more. Second is reclaim your boundaries. Determine now, before you're with them next time, how you want to breathe, to think, and behave. Write down the statements you want to use. Practice saying them. The third thing is to reclaim your emotional independence. Their emotions are theirs. Their behaviors are theirs. Let them have them. Your response is yours. What you do in that moment is yours. The moment you stop abandoning yourself, no one, and I really mean no one, can pull you out of your power again. That's what being triggered does, is it pulls you out of your seat of power. And if you learn how to do this with the most difficult person in your life, it will be a piece of cake with everyone else. If you found this helpful, subscribe and continue to follow me.